Chairman Gaskin, Superintendent Price, members of the board, district administration, and guests. I'm excited once again to shine the spotlight on our students and schools. This month we are spotlighting GCST's JROTC program, specifically the NJROTC program at Georgetown High School. 3 of our 4 high schools have a Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, or JROTC program, and there are currently this semester 222 students enrolled in GCSD's programs. The Junior ROTC program emphasizes character education, student achievement, wellness, leadership, citizenship, service to community, and diversity. It helps prepare high school students for responsible roles while fostering in each school a more constructive and disciplined learning environment. Tonight, I am excited to welcome Commander Kaiser and the NJROTC from Georgetown High School. Commander Kaiser spent 20 years in the United States Navy as a naval aviator flying tactical jets off of aircraft carriers. After he retired, he was a vice president for a defense contractor developing accelerated pilot training programs for the U.S. Air Force's Air Combat Command, United States Navy and Marine Corps, NATO, NASA, FAA, and other foreign militaries. Commander Kaiser chose to leave his position as a defense contractor to serve as a senior naval science instructor, as he realized that the future of our nation hinges on mentoring our nation's youth. Commander Kaiser has been serving as a senior naval science instructor for over 7 years and came to Georgetown High School in the summer of 2020. Commander Kaiser.
Good evening. Well, there we go. All right, so when I got here in 2020, the NJROTC program at Georgetown High School was essentially on life support. It was ranked, we were actually in Area 6, which means all the Navy ROTC units in both North and South Carolina. There's 66 of them. When I called the area manager and I said, hey, where do we stand? He says, you're not at the bottom, but you're second from the bottom. So we're ranked 65 out of 66 schools. However, last year, or the year before last, I was able to build it up to the top 10 schools in Area 6. We got this distinguished unit for 2 years in a row now, and distinguished unit means you're in the top 30% in the globe, because we got ROTC units across the globe, wherever our military forces are at. Most of them have Department of Defense schools, and they use it for that. It wasn't easy to get there, but I fell back on the essential leadership training I got from the military. And the most essential thing they gave all leaders is that all leaders need to understand the 4 indicators of effective leadership. And this works not only in the military, it works in a board, it could work in a classroom, it can work on a team, work at home. But you as the leader have to measure those 4 indicators. And the one is esprit de corps, which means pride of belonging. Proficiency, how good are they at what they're supposed to get done. Discipline, and that doesn't mean getting discipline, it means how disciplined are they to get things done. And individual morale. And so that starts at the top. It always starts at the top, and then it filters its way through. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that, because you have to measure that constantly. So I'll take 2 businesses that we all probably are aware of. They make hamburgers. One is McDonald's. And if you had to measure the esprit de corps, the pride of belonging at McDonald's, I think you'd probably put it low on the scale. If you did their proficiency, how good and quality hamburgers they have, or their proficiency of their drive-through, you probably would say, it's average. If you said the discipline, you go walk in there, is it clean? Did they take initiative to keep it clean? And you probably again say it's at best average. And then the morale, do people really enjoy working there? Do they feel like, I get up in the morning and I want to be there? And again, you probably say it's low. But let's take another organization that does the exact same thing. In fact, they only serve hamburgers 6 days out of the year, not 7. But you look at the esprit de corps there, and it's very high. You look at their proficiency, well, I got the best darn drive-through I've ever seen in my entire life. You look at their discipline, that place is clean, and no matter which one you go to is there. And their morale, people enjoy working there. And the reason, the only difference between the 2 is because they focus on leadership. So in order to get my program from where the bottom is and to the top, and that's part of the curriculum, is I got to lead using those effective leadership. I got to pick up all those, because all those were down as bottom as they could be. And the program is designed such that we instill leadership in the cadets. When they started as freshmen, they're mostly followers. And then as they get more and more responsibility, go up in ranks, they get leadership positions and so on and so forth. But the one thing I had to do is I had to set the example, and we teach them all about how to set the example. And so one of the things I said, it was very tough at first because everyone said, this is the way it was done in the past, this is the way we need to do. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I know that's the popular way to do it, but we can't do that. Because I'm a firm believer, the standards you walk past are the standards you accept. Whether it's the smallest thing, whether it's I walk past trash and I didn't pick it up, they see that. And so that's where we needed to go. Took some time to get there, and finally we got up where we needed to go. And let me tell you a little bit about it. So we do that through the classroom. The classroom training is designed such that it's academics 2.5 days out of the week. We go into academics from everything, from career choices to financial to Navy to anything. Leadership, especially in the fall or the spring semesters, we're really heavy in that. But it's a laboratory. You can't just learn this stuff because it's skill-based. So the other days of the week, we have them do things. We have 2 days of physical training where they have to lead the physical training. We have a uniform day. They have to wear the uniform all day long. They have to present the uniform. They have to go in front of a personnel inspection, and they got to be able to answer the proper questions. And so that's the major part of the experience. But the greatest experiential learning they receive is getting involved after hours. In fact, when I say after hours, we have practices before school start that start around 6:30, 7 a.m., and we don't finish up to 6:30 at night. The drill team. Our drill team made Area 6 Championship last year for the second time in the 38-year history of our program here at Georgetown. We just made it again this year on the very first drill meet. We're competing against drill teams, or schools that are 3-4 times our size. Some have got 3,000. In fact, I think in the competition circuit we're in, which is called the sanctioned drill meets, which is kind of the major leagues, if you will, we're probably the smallest team out there. And drill team is just not marching. They have to get up early in the morning. Sometimes we're on the bus at 3:30 in the morning to get to the drill meet. They got to be there, and they got to be in uniform at 8 a.m. They go in the uniform, and they've got Marine drill instructors going out to ask them questions and looking at their hygiene, looking at their uniform. They immediately go from that to an academic test, 60 to 100 questions. They got an hour to compete against it. After that, they go into at least 5 different areas they drill on, from armed exhibition to armed regulation to color guard. And at the end of it, they have to do sit-ups and push-ups and then a relay on it. So it's a full compass. It's not like a tennis match or a football game. Ours go from 7 o'clock in the morning. They're not done till 4 o'clock at night, and then the ride home. So our drill team, again, we are ranked. We are number 2 seed right now. We go to the championship this February. We got our work cut out for it. There's teams that have been going to nationals all the year, and they're worried about us, but we got very competitive there. We have an orienteering team. What we do with orienteering, we take them up in the woods, we give them a compass, and they have to race and find points. The shortest distance is about 5K, and they go up in the mountains and do that. It's a full great experience because they go outside their area here, and they go up in the mountains and topography, which they do not have here. So it's hard for us to be extremely competitive in that, but we are competitive in it. Oh, by the way, all this, when we go to these drill meets, some are overnight. Those are definitely overnight. I don't do all the planning for those. We have staff that have to plan it. We have an operations officer. We have a logistics officer. They got to figure out the hotel rooms. They got to figure out where we're going to stay, where they're going to room, all that kind of stuff. So they just don't hop on the bus and think they're getting a free trip. They got to work for it. The other big team we have is a marksmanship team. Our marksmanship team has gone a long way. Last year we won the South Carolina Junior Olympics. They go to the Olympic Training Center. I take them there every summer down in Alabama. And our team this year is doing extremely well. And we made Area 6 championship. We came in 3rd place overall to go to nationals, which means they're only going to take the first, second team. But we got one shooter who's going to go to nationals. So she is competing against there's only 60 cadets, but they compete against 18,000 across the nation to get that 60. She's one of them. First time in our school history. We're taking her in February down to Anniston, Alabama at the Olympic Training Center to do that. Community service, we average over 3,000 hours per year community service. You can see there we cleaned up the Georgetown Airport. We've done that several times. Andrews Airport. We go to East Bay Park, clean up there. We've even bagged sandbags for when hurricanes come. We do the flags of honor. We do Toys for Tots, Special Olympics. The list goes on and on. In fact, we're doing something every weekend. I spend just over 30 weekends a year in this program. My wife's not too happy about that, but that's what it takes. Leadership Academy. We get certain cadets. I send them down to Citadel. I'm also instructor down there for our Area 6. They're the best of the best that get to go down there. I get some extra quotas because I'm an instructor. I take about 5 to 7 cadets down there. It's an intense all-week-long thing at the Citadel. It's just amazing what they do down there for these kids for that. And it's prestige. They get a special agulette for it. And they're very prideful of when they graduate. The parents come down. It's a big, full-blown, formal graduation. And then we have our basic leadership training, which we do every summer. That's us going up into the mountains of North Carolina. We do that every year. We can bring a lot more cadets up there. And we spend it with other schools, other cadets up there to work on the program, work on their leadership skills, have fun, team bonding, and all that. So that's our program. Our program, I average between 120 to 140 cadets a semester. Looking at my numbers, it's about 15% of our school population. That's one of the highest populations per student in Area 6, even though we're that small. So what's the tangibles? Well, everyone likes tangibles. My tangibles are, I looked in the last 8 years of the records I found, and through this, I can give 3 nominations to Naval Academy since I'm a distinguished unit. If I'm a distinguished unit with academic honors, which we are not, but we're trying for, I can get 6 nominations to any military academy. But between getting scholarships to the Naval Academy and regular scholarships, in the last 8 years, $2.1 million in scholarships. And the last 4 I've gotten in the last 3 years are 5-year, all expenses paid, including room and board, and guaranteed jobs as naval officers. If they decide not to go that route, well, if they spent all 4 years of my program and graduate, and they do decide to go active duty as enlisted, they come out 3 grades out of boot camp of everybody else. That's the tangibles. But the intangibles, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to have 2 of the cadets talk to you about the program. One is my commanding officer of the unit. The other one is a junior who's on my marksmanship team, drill team. Actually, they're on all the teams. Everybody that's on a team here is on every team. So let me turn it over. Cadet Aka.
Hi, good evening. My name is Adriana Sanchez, and this is my 3rd year in ROTC. For as long as I can remember my high school years, the most memories and the ones that I remember the most are from ROTC, and I'm glad that I joined. I joined as a shy girl. I wouldn't be standing here if I was freshman. But I joined all the teams in orienteering. Although I'm not that good, I still keep going, and I push myself to bring out the best in other people too. I'm also on the marksmanship team. As a little girl, I never thought I would ever shoot a rifle, but I did. Last year I started, and I recently, maybe a month ago, I commanded the Armed Regulation Platoon, and that was scary. I was in front of a Navy judge, and it was a female, and that's what made me more scared, but I overcame my fear and I did it, and there was about 12 teams there, and we placed 4th overall for that. And also, it's helped me develop more leadership skills. I help out in the community more, and I'm more involved in school too. I'm there from like 7 to 5, and my mom's also not happy about that either, but she still supports me, and I'm glad that I joined ROTC, and I recommend a lot of freshmen that I meet to join and to try it out. If they don't like it, they can try something else.
Good evening. My name is Briar Long, and I'm the commanding officer. I've been in there for 4 years, and it's honestly the best program that I know at the high school. I mean, I've been on the soccer team for 8 years. I've been in every club I'm in every club and there's nothing else at the school that has helped me to prepare myself more for after high school than ROTC. I mean, I'm not going to say I was shy in middle school. I definitely was not. There was some things that I probably shouldn't have done 8th grade year, but I was definitely out there, and I joined ROTC, and it's just really helped me to have self-discipline and really accept myself. So I used to not think that I was wrong very often, although I'm usually right, but I used to not think so, and it's really helped me to seek responsibility, and take responsibility for your actions. That's one of our leadership principles, and that one just kind of goes to heart, because as a leader, you're just in charge of everything. If one thing goes wrong, it's on you, and I think that's just a great skill, a great trait that everyone needs to understand and learn, that even though that it might not have been your fault or this or that, you're responsible. And I don't know anything else that could have helped me prepare better for life after high school, whether I went into the workforce or college or anything. And the organization aspect of it too, middle school, and I'm sure the rest of the other high schoolers that aren't in ROTC, you've never planned anything in your life. You've never done anything. Your parents are holding your hand along the way, most of them, and you've never planned an event or done community service really, and ROTC just provides all the opportunities. And if you really go out there and seek those opportunities and take up on them, it can provide so many great things for you. I mean, you talked about the scholarships, but I know I've applied for a bunch of them, a bunch of ROTC ones, the Naval Academy, and even if I don't take that, the stuff that I did in ROTC helps me on my applications for all the other colleges too. I know I've gotten a bunch of scholarships from other colleges due to my community service work and everything like that. I think I have over 300 community service hours my high school career, I guess you could say, just from ROTC. And I just truly believe that ROTC is the only program that has that big of impact on the individual cadets and the community as a whole. And I just love to see it keep going the way it's going, because the sky's the limit with us, because we're just going so great. We've improved so much, and I just really hope that it continues to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So atypical, but we're going to do it tonight. We wanted to see if anybody on the board had any questions for the ROTC cadets or for Commander Kaiser or anything like that. So we were going to open the floor to see if anybody had any questions.
I don't have a question. The motion is carried. The next thing is the adoption.
Good evening, Chairman Gaskins, Superintendent Price, members of the board, members of cabinet, and our distinguished guests. This evening, I would like to present to you an overview of our 45-day enrollment counts from October 5th, 2023. The tables I will present represent each of the 4 attendance zones in Georgetown County School District: Andrews, Carvers Bay, Georgetown, and Waccamaw. Each area shows from left to right the following column headers. We have the 2023-24 projected. This is a representation of the projected total student enrollment from last year's 135-day enrollment. These numbers were calculated using a roll-up of grade levels. So for example, last year's fourth grade would be this year's 5th grade. In these counts, we did take into consideration graduating juniors, and they were removed from the 12th grade. Additionally, the only other grade level that we couldn't use this formula for was our kindergarten class. This grade was carried over from the previous year's 135-day counts. Next, we have our 23-24 and our 22-23 day 45 counts. These are student counts in K through 12 from our 45th day from each of those respective school years. Next, we have our day 45 enrollment comparison. These numbers are a comparison showing either the increase or decrease in enrollment from the previous year on day 45. Then we have our projected versus day 45. This is a comparison of the 23-24 projections to this year's 45-day enrollment counts. These are broken down by school as well as total for each of the areas. So looking at first at the Andrews area, Sanpete Elementary was the only school to see an increase in enrollment compared to last year's 45-day count and our projected enrollment counts. All other schools in the area have seen a decrease in enrollment when comparing the 22 45-day counts and our projected enrollment from last year's 135th day. Next, the Carvers Bay area has experienced the largest overall increase in enrollment when comparing our 45-day counts from this year to last year. Each school, with the exception of Carvers Bay Middle, showed an increase in enrollment using the same metric. When comparing our projected enrollment versus our actual 45-day count, the area also shows an increase in overall enrollment numbers. Each school, with the exception of Pleasant Hill, were aligned with our projection or demonstrated an increase. Next, the Georgetown area also experienced an overall decrease in enrollment when compared to the 2022 45-day enrollment. However, both Kensington and Maryville experienced an increase in enrollment during this time span. Georgetown Middle School and Maryville were the only two schools to show an increase in enrollment or staying the same when compared to the enrollment projections. However, all other schools, including the area as a whole, experienced a slight decrease in enrollment based on these projections. The Waccamaw area schools experienced an overall increase of enrollment when comparing the 45-day enrollment counts. Both Waccamaw Elementary and Waccamaw Intermediate increased, while Waccamaw High School and Waccamaw Middle School decreased slightly over this span. The area did show the largest increase in enrollment when compared to the projected enrollment figures, with an increase of 67 students overall. Coastal Montessori Charter School has shown a slight decrease in enrollment as compared to last year's 40-day counts, and they also display a decrease when comparing their actual counts to the projected counts. Overall, the district as a whole has shown a slight decrease in student enrollment when comparing the 45-day counts, as well as when comparing the projected counts to the actual counts. Our child development and pre-K have shown a very small decrease in enrollment overall. And finally, our schools have been extremely successful at promoting and encouraging our parents to create parent portal accounts. In fact, we're at an all-time high in the district with 96% of our students having at least one parent portal account created. Parent portal allows our parents valuable insight into their child's academics, including attendance, grades, schedules, e-collect surveys, as well as our online registration process. We are very proud of our schools, and we will continue to thrive for 100%. We're currently building our registration platform for the 24-25 school year. We've made certain not to overlap this year with our initial magnet application window, and we hope to kick off our pre-K registration in late February. We'll be sure to give plenty of notice via social media well in advance of this window. And at this time, are there any questions about our 45-day counts? Thank you.
Very good information. Ms. Johnson, Q1 finance.
Chairman Gaskins, board members, Mr. Price. Tonight, you should have a copy of the financial statement in your packet. Our revenues as of September 30th, this is first quarter, are right on target. We were at 9% at this time last year. We're at 9% this year for this September. Our salaries and benefits and purchase services are up. We're at like 19% of our budget for September. Last year it was 16%, and that's because we, with the new modified calendar, we paid teachers earlier, so we're a little more forward with our expenditures, but they're right on target. We did get the bonus out last week for everybody, so hopefully that's gone well. And I just wanted to also mention our tax bills were posted online November 29th. They've not been sent out or not received in the mail as of yet. So our collections, if I had brought you a November report, we'd probably be about $5 million down in collections because of the lateness of so we're watching that over the next couple of months. It'll catch up, but it's going to be a lot later coming in. Any questions or concerns or?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to also, while I'm here, if it's okay, introduce Vicki Williams. Vicki is our Director of Procurement with 20-plus years of procurement experience, and she's going to go over the required reports with you all that we need for our audit. Thank you,
Welcome,
Lisa.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
And you're the sole source of emergency.
All right. The first one I want to share with you is the sole source and emergency. And for one time, in this case, less is good, because with our sole source procurements, we only had a total of 9 vendors used this past year, with a total of $366,800 approximately. And that's very good. Compared to a lot of years I've seen. Not just here, I'm not talking about just here. The emergency procurements, we only use 3 vendors, which is outstanding for not to have no more emergency procurements than that. And we only spent a total of $59,000. So that was also good. I'm proud to report that. The next report is the Minority Business Progress Report. This past fiscal year, we reported approximately $232,000 spent with minority vendors. Our goal for the state is 10%, which we have some trouble reaching because we're required to use certified vendors through the state, through their minority program, and I've been told that that's a pretty rigorous process. So hopefully my plan is to try to get us to a point where we can use more minority vendors in the future. And last but not least, we sold our surplus through GovDeals. We auction all of our surplus off through govdeals.com, and that's open to the public. Anybody can go on there and bid. So this year we sold approximately almost $19,000 worth of old stuff that would have otherwise we just can't use. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Williams?
I have one. I'm just curious, going back to the minority business. What is the debt?
The encumbrance is what when we first put in a purchase order or we do our budgets, we foresee spending this much. But when it actually comes right down to it and what we actually spend, that's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I see a number.
They're old, and we usually go through our fixed asset person, and she makes sure that they're not, they can't be repaired, or no other school needs or wants them. So after going through a process, we're able to sell them on GovDeals.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Chairman Gaskins, Mr. Price, members of the board. Yes, the first two items that I have are two memorandums of agreement that are very similar. We are fortunate in Georgetown County School District to have two community partners in the Village Group and in Teach My People. They both offer outstanding services to our students. Teach My People has typically been geared more towards the Waccamaw Neck. They're moving into town and expanding here in the Georgetown area. And the Village Group has been more centered in the Carvers Bay, Plantersville area, and they provide excellent services out there for those students. So we just, for our purposes and theirs, both entities, I kind of lump these together because the agreements are very similar. For our purposes and theirs, we have to have memorandums of agreement that show who's doing what, for our auditing purposes, for theirs, and for our own personal understanding of what everybody's responsible for. So these two agreements just break down exactly what the district is responsible for and what each of the programs are responsible for. There is Teach My People specifically. They have been located outside of the district in their own building, but in the Georgetown area they're going to be using the school buildings here, and then in the Village Group they typically they rely upon our buildings for their use exclusively at Plantersville Elementary. So they're set up a little bit differently, but they each we provide certain items that are listed in each memorandum of agreement in kind to each of the organizations. And then, of course, they provide a service back to us as after-school partners and summer partners and that sort of thing. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the particulars of this, of either agreement. We'll be asking you to vote on them at the next board meeting in January. And Teach My People has reviewed theirs and is A-OK with everything in it. The Village Group, there are very few changes. The Teach My People, we've not had this firm of an agreement before, so this is sort of a newer agreement. We've had a kind of a looser form with them, but with the Village Group, this is just really updating the agreement that we've had with them for several years. So not a whole lot of changes for the Village Group in there then, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
That is their projected hope. We did not include information in this about the Andrews Elementary plan. It had not been solidified at the time that we drafted it, but if we receive information before January that's set in stone and ready to go, then we can certainly add that before I present it back to you in January. But very exciting for them to be moving into that area too.
Under 1G, talks about notifying.
Yes.
What happens if they have?
No, that's a good question. That's more for kind of keeping track and making sure that we haven't, God forbid, had a child that we don't know where they're going in the afternoon. So if we have a child that was supposed to show up at Teach My People or was supposed to show up at the Village Group and hasn't shown up there in the afternoons, we need to know what's going on. So we ask that they notify the principal and say, hey, this student normally comes to us, they've been gone for 3 days, do you know what's going on? Just to make sure that we maintain that line of communication. There's no necessary consequences, just make sure that we keep tabs on our kids for those after-school programs.
So it's a kind of a safe.
Exactly. Just a safety measure, yes, sir.
New policies that we look at. We're starting with voting method.
Yes, sir, thank you. So the first one is policy BDDF, voting method. And this one, as exciting as Robert's Rules of Order is, it doesn't really update that much. And so this policy really doesn't have anything that's incorrect or wrong or that really needs to be updated. So I just put on here a reviewed item as opposed to a revised. Everything is still in line with Robert's Rules the way it was written, at least as far back as 2001. So I recommend no changes there, but if you all have something you'd like to change, we can do that. Okay. All right. Okay, and the next one is policy BDDG, minutes of the board. This one, I am recommending an update to some of the language. There was nothing substantively wrong or illegal about what was included in here. We just needed to update it to kind of track some of the updates that have happened in the Freedom of Information Act since the last revision. And we need to include on there that our minutes and our agendas and everything would be placed on a website as opposed to in a paper format somewhere. So just coming into the 21st century with some of our language, even though the old language was not incorrect. It just, this is a little bit more up to date. Okay, this one was another easy one, policy BDDH, public participation. You all reviewed this and revised it in January of 2022. So unless there is something specific that you'd like to change at this point, I felt that we updated it very well at that point, and there's nothing that I would recommend currently for that in the last 2 years.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point.
Yes, ma'am.
I just found it interesting. But they do tend.
Right, and it is hard because you're in real time trying to help somebody understand what the rules are. But we do ask that the public keep its comments to just general comments, and that if it has specific names that it needs to mention, that we ask that they identify that with the board chair, with the superintendent individually. And honestly, that's kind of to protect everyone more than anything else from defamation issues. We don't want anybody to slander somebody else, and we want to be sure that we're not republicizing any inappropriate information or untrue information about individuals. So it's more of a protection for everyone, but it is difficult in real time to police that, so to speak.
The issue for us, with
Right.
what we had.
And we also, a couple years ago, talked about this, and it's worth mentioning again, that there are lots of different ways to manage public comment, so to speak. You can make sure, you can ask that people submit their public comments 24 hours in advance to the board secretary. You can ask that they limit the total number of minutes per public comment. You can state that if speakers are commenting on the same topic, that they need to to get together and appoint a spokesperson for that one issue. So there are lots of ways of managing that that you all could look at. 2 years ago, I think you were comfortable with where we were here, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't update it at this point. Okay, great. The next one is, again, no changes recommended here for school board work sessions and retreats. everything is how we sort of molded our practice into our policy a few years ago when you all shifted back to the specific regular session and work session, and we've adhered to the retreats, having our work sessions and retreats only within the county borders. So we've kind of molded our practice back into what our policy said. And so I don't have any recommendations for the policy language at this time. Okay. All right, and the last one was policy BFA, policy process. I think it's easy for me to say, excuse me. It should say policy development process and board review of administrative rules. And again, there was nothing incorrect about our language, it was just dated. And so we've taken the language and updated it to include what some of the language in here is from the model policy from the School Boards Association, and some of it is from other boards that I felt had some really good language in their policies. But essentially, it wouldn't change any of our behaviors. It would be the same thing where policies are reviewed twice, administrative rules are reviewed once, and the board would appoint the superintendent through his staff to propose information and items that need to be included in policies. So same process, there's no change to the process, just sort of updating the language.
That's good.
Okay.
Any questions?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Moving on to, we have a list of Is there any discussion? The hearing none, I'll call. Now we move
Georgetown High. Other than a few reported leaks at schools, we were all ready to resume operations this morning successfully. Thursday is the last day of semester 1, and it will be a half day for students. Teachers will have a work day on Friday and then again on January 8th, with students returning on January 9th to begin semester 2. Pathways to Possibilities is just around the corner. This is a major career fair hosted by the Bunnell Foundation at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center on January 10th, just the day after the return to semester 2. And all of our middle schools will have students who will be attending. And finally, I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Tonight, we have an executive session to hear a student appeal. Is there a motion that we go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. We are now in executive session.
Decision to place student S1 at Howard for 45 days.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
There is a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Merry Christmas.